I can't do what you do, so I'm not thinking, oh, I could do that. I'm just thinking, this is doing something. This is kind of healing my soul. I'm not viewing it as a musician. I'm viewing it as a listener. I can't do it when it's not 12 string.
Brian May, a genius with a uniquely distinctive guitar-playing style, a creative mind behind many timeless hits, yet he has many astonishing facets beyond what fans typically imagine. When people mention Queen, they often immediately think of Freddie Mercury, the irreplaceable voice that propelled the band to the top. But without Brian May, could Queen have become one of the greatest bands in history? It was his powerful and inventive guitar melodies that gave soul to legendary songs like We Will Rock You, Fat-Bottomed Girls, and Who Wants to Live Forever. And behind those iconic sounds lies the story of a man who not only dedicated his life to music, but is also an astrophysicist, an animal rights activist, an author, and someone who once battled depression behind the dazzling stage lights. From a boy fascinated by the universe, who built the red special guitar with his father in a small home, to becoming a global rock icon, Brian May has lived a vibrant life filled with unexpected ups and downs. And even past the age of 70, he continues to create, dedicate, and inspire future generations. So, what made him one of the most respected artists in rock music? Join us as we uncover the inspiring journey of Queen's legendary guitarist. Don't mention his hair. When mentioning Brian May, people don't just recall his legendary guitar melodies, but are also impressed by his voluminous curly hair, which has become his trademark for decades. However, if you ever meet him, it's best not to bring it up. Although his hair is an inseparable part of his image, May himself has mixed feelings about it. In a 1998 interview with Q magazine, he admitted, "Sometimes I just want to put a paper bag over my head so people would focus on my music instead of my appearance." He even considered chopping it all off to break free from his familiar image, but in the end, he kept it because no one else could replicate it. However, jokes about his hair haven't always been pleasant. Even fellow musicians didn't miss the chance to poke fun at him. In 2007, Suggs, the lead singer of Madness, once joked that Brian May and his wife, actress Anita Dobson, had such similar hairstyles that they looked like two peas in a pod. This did not amuse May at all. On his personal website, he called the comment dull and overused, sarcastically concluding, "Ha frigging ha." It's disappointing that some people still find this funny. After years of being teased, it's easy to understand why Brian May isn't thrilled whenever someone mentions his hair. And judging by his reaction, it's safe to say you'll never see him starring in a shampoo commercial. Brian May built his first electric guitar. While most young guitarists dream of owning an expensive Fender or Gibson, Brian May chose a different path. He built his own guitar, not out of a love for DIY, but simply because he and his family couldn't afford a high-end electric guitar. In 1963, at the age of 17, Brian May and his father, Harold May, an electronics engineer and former RAF serviceman, spent months crafting one of the most legendary guitars in rock history, the Red Special. Instead of buying new wood, they used whatever materials were available at home. The guitar neck was made from a 100-year-old fireplace mantle, the fret markers came from his mother's buttons, and the body was built from scraps of wood. Even the springs in the tremolo system were repurposed from an old motorcycle. No one could have imagined that a homemade guitar would produce such a unique sound, one that May would stay loyal to for his entire life. He never switched to a more expensive guitar, nor did he see it as a temporary experiment. The Red Special has been with him since Queen's early days, appearing on every album, every stage, and even having its own security guard during tours. Over the years, the Red Special became more than just an instrument. It became a symbol of Brian May, as much a part of him as his own body. Recognizing fans' admiration for it, May decided to create replicas under the Brian May Guitars brand, allowing anyone to own a piece of this legend. "We never imagined the Red Special would become such an important part of my life," May once shared. "And perhaps it's not just his life, but the entire rock world that wouldn't be the same without the sound it creates." Brian May has a PhD in astrophysics, legendary guitarist, brilliant songwriter, and passionate animal rights activist. Brian May has already done more than enough to be considered extraordinary. But what's even more astonishing is that he is also a PhD astrophysicist, one of the very few rock stars to have earned an advanced degree in science. Before Queen conquered the music world, May was an outstanding student at Imperial College London, one of the world's most prestigious universities. In 1965, he began studying astrophysics, focusing on the effects of cosmic dust within the solar system. His passion for science was so great that he once believed he would spend his life observing the skies rather than standing on stage. However, as Queen began gaining momentum in the early 1970s, May faced a critical crossroads. The band was receiving bigger opportunities, yet he was still in the middle of his PhD research. In 1971, he made the difficult decision to put his scientific dreams on hold to pursue music, a choice that deeply disappointed his father, who had always envisioned his son becoming a scientist. "My father was shocked. He couldn't understand why I would give up a stable future for something as uncertain as music." But Brian May never truly abandoned his love for astrophysics. After Freddie Mercury's passing in 1991 and Queen's temporary hiatus, he found the opportunity to return to his research. In 2006, after more than 30 years, May decided to complete his unfinished PhD. Just a year later, he successfully defended his thesis, titled "A Survey of Radial Velocities in the Zodiacal Dust Cloud." In 2007, Brian May officially received his PhD in astrophysics from Imperial College London, proving that no matter the field, he would always be a legend. And the story doesn't end there. He continued collaborating with leading scientists, writing books about the universe, and even had an asteroid named after him, 52,665, Brian May. Not content with merely observing space, he also helped popularize astrophysics by participating in research projects, publishing science books, and even capturing 3D images of asteroids. Whether on stage or among the stars, Brian May has always been destined to achieve greatness. Freddie Mercury and Brian May were roommates before they were bandmates. Before becoming one of the most legendary duos in rock history, Brian May and Freddie Mercury were just two young men sharing an apartment. But no one could have predicted that from this friendship, they would go on to create one of the most iconic bands the world has ever known. In the late 1960s, while studying at Imperial College London, Brian May and bassist Tim Staffel formed a band called Smile. They recruited Roger Taylor, a dental student with exceptional drumming skills. Among those who frequently attended Smile's performances was a young man with a unique style and unwavering confidence, Farrokh Bulsara, who would later become known as Freddie Mercury. Freddie wasn't just an ordinary fan. He constantly gave them feedback on how they should perform, how they should present themselves on stage, and wasn't afraid to criticize them directly. According to Brian May, after every show, Freddie would rush backstage and tell them exactly what they needed to do to be more captivating. "If I were your singer, I'd show you how it's really done," Mercury once shouted from the audience. And he wasn't just boasting. Over time, Mercury and Roger Taylor became roommates. They even sold secondhand clothes together at Kensington Market to make ends meet. During this period, their friendship deepened, and Mercury's burning desire to be on stage became increasingly evident. In 1970, Tim Staffel left Smile, leaving a significant void in the band. That was when Mercury looked at May and Taylor and declared, "This is our moment to do something great." And so, Queen was born. With Freddie Mercury as the lead vocalist, Brian May on guitar, Roger Taylor on drums, and a year later, John Deacon joined as the bassist, completing the lineup. It's safe to say that without those years of sharing a cramped apartment and chasing seemingly impossible dreams, the world might never have witnessed the greatness of Queen. Those early days as roommates not only forged an unbreakable bond, but also helped them understand each other deeply, becoming the perfect pieces of a puzzle that would later take the stage and make history. Brian May suffered several injuries in 2020. For Brian May, 2020 was not only a year of global turmoil due to the pandemic, but also a period when his health took a serious downturn. What started as a seemingly harmless injury quickly turned into a series of complications that left him in prolonged pain and even brought him dangerously close to death. It all began in May 2020, when May shared on Instagram that he had torn his gluteus maximus in a gardening accident. At 73 years old, he still maintained a habit of gardening for relaxation, but in one careless moment, he suffered a severe muscle injury that landed him in the hospital in excruciating pain. But that was only the beginning. As the pain persisted with no signs of improvement, doctors decided to conduct additional tests. It was then that they discovered May wasn't just dealing with a torn muscle. He also had a severely compressed sciatic nerve, causing radiating pain down his leg. He described the agony as unbearable, preventing him from sleeping and making him fear he might have to live with it for the rest of his life. And just when things seemed bad enough, a sudden heart attack struck. During a routine checkup following his back injury, May began experiencing sharp chest pain, cold sweats, and numbness in his arm, classic symptoms of a heart attack. While he described it as a mild heart attack, further examination revealed that 3 of his major arteries were critically blocked. Doctors presented him with 2 options: bypass surgery or stent placement. Ultimately, May opted for 3 stents to restore blood flow without undergoing a major operation. "I was really close to death," he later told fans. After everything, Brian May recovered, but he admitted that 2020 was one of the worst years of his life. From a simple fall in the garden to a heart attack that nearly took his life, he dubbed it the year of ridiculous injuries. However, with his characteristic optimism, May expressed deep gratitude to the medical team that saved him and urged everyone never to take heart health lightly. "I escaped death miraculously, and now I cherish every moment more than ever." The show did not go on when Brian May got sick in 1974. In 1974, Queen was on the verge of a major breakthrough. They had just released Queen 2 and, for the first time, topped the UK charts, marking a significant turning point in their career. Seizing the momentum, the band immediately set their sights on conquering the international market, particularly the United States, where they embarked on a tour supporting the rock band Mott the Hoople. But just as their American dream was beginning to take shape, Brian May suddenly fell seriously ill, forcing Queen to cancel the remainder of the tour. At first, no one thought May's condition was too serious, but within a short time, he began feeling exhausted, running a high fever, and growing increasingly weak. When doctors examined him, they diagnosed him with viral hepatitis, a dangerous illness that affects the liver and immune system. May was forced to leave the tour and return to England for treatment, while Queen, on the brink of global success, had to put all their plans on hold to wait for his recovery. After 6 weeks of treatment, May believed he was ready to rejoin the band. But as soon as he returned to the studio to work on their next album, he fell ill again, this time with a severe stomach ulcer. Doctors once again ordered him to take complete rest, forcing him to step away from Queen at a crucial moment. From being at the heart of the band's activities, May now had to watch from the sidelines. But this period of forced distance gave him a new perspective. "For the first time, I could see Queen from the outside, and I realized we were truly something special." This sense of missing out only fueled his determination to come back stronger. Once fully recovered, May returned to Queen more driven than ever. And later that year, they released Sheer Heart Attack, an album that cemented their breakthrough in the American market and laid the foundation for their dominance in the years to come. Brian May's months of illness didn't stop him or Queen. If anything, they only made them stronger than ever. Brian May wrote, "We Will Rock You" for the band's audiences. Some songs are more than just music. They become cultural icons, timeless and everlasting. "We Will Rock You" is one of them. And what many don't know is that Brian May didn't write this song for Queen to shine, but to give the spotlight to the audience. In 1977, Queen was at the peak of their career, touring the world and performing on electrifying stages in front of thousands of fans. But one particular moment changed Brian May's perspective on the relationship between the band and their audience. After a concert at Bingley Hall, near Birmingham, England, when Queen had just finished their final song, the crowd didn't leave. Instead, they kept singing, stomping, and clapping in rhythm, as if they wanted the energy to continue. That moment struck Brian May like lightning. He realized that the audience didn't just want to listen to music, they wanted to be part of it. While most bands simply performed for their fans, May wanted to create a song where the audience would take the lead. The next morning, as soon as he woke up, the legendary stomp, stomp, clap rhythm was already in his head. Boom, boom, clap, boom, boom, clap. A simple beat powerful enough to unite an entire stadium. In the studio, Queen recorded the stomping by pounding their feet on a wooden floor and clapping their hands, then used studio techniques to amplify the sound, making it feel like tens of thousands of people were participating. When We Will Rock You was released, it was unlike anything Queen had ever created. No drums, no bass, no complex guitar riffs, just stomps, claps, and Freddie Mercury's commanding voice. But its simplicity was exactly what made it one of the most iconic songs of all time. Beyond being just a rock anthem, We Will Rock You transcended music, becoming a rallying cry for sports events, protests, and any moment where people wanted to express unity and strength. From football stadiums to political marches, from packed arenas to school assemblies, the stomp-clap rhythm continues to echo wherever crowds gather. Brian May didn't just write a song, he created a ritual, an immortal symbol, where listeners are no longer just spectators, but an integral part of the music itself. Brian May has written multiple books. Brian May has left an indelible mark not only with timeless hits, but also through his intellect and passion, expressed in his meticulously crafted books. He has authored and co-authored numerous works across various fields, from astronomy and 3D photography to the history of fashion, proving that his talents extend far beyond music. One of May's most notable books is Bang, A Complete History of the Universe, co-written with astronomers Chris Lintott and Patrick Moore. This book doesn't just explore the wonders of the cosmos, it also makes complex astronomical events, such as the Big Bang, galaxy formation, and the future of the universe, more accessible to readers. It stands as clear evidence of May's passion for science, a man who has always looked to the skies even while standing on stage. Beyond astronomy, Brian May has a deep fascination with 3D photography, stereoscopy, an art form dating back to the 19th century. Determined to revive this lost craft, he restored the historic London Stereoscopic Company and published several books focused on stereoscopic images and depth effect techniques. His 2017 book, Queen in 3D, is a unique collection of exclusive 3D photos of Queen, personally taken by May himself, offering an intimate and nostalgic glimpse into the band's golden years. Not stopping there, May also co-authored Cosmic Clouds 3D, Where Stars Are Born, a book that merges astronomy and stereoscopic photography, allowing readers to visualize the vast cosmic clouds where stars are born. Another remarkable book, Diableries, Stereoscopic Adventures in Hell, offers a completely different perspective, focusing on eerie 3D images of the demonic underworld from the 19th century. From books about the universe to 3D photographs of Queen, and even historical research on early photography, Brian May has proven that he is more than just a legendary guitarist. He is a scholar with an insatiable thirst for knowledge. Perhaps for him, the world is too vast to be confined to music alone, and whether in space, art, or history, Brian May remains a relentless explorer. Brian May would rather be remembered as an animal rights activist. With millions of fans worldwide, Brian May is forever remembered as one of the greatest guitarists in rock history. But if he had a choice, he would want his legacy to be more than just music. He would want it to be his contributions to animal rights. May's love for animals is not just a fleeting passion, it is a fundamental part of his life. In 2010, he founded the Save Me Trust, an organization dedicated to protecting Britain's wildlife, particularly foxes and badgers, two species frequently hunted or culled under brutal policies. One of his most prominent campaigns has been his fight against fox hunting and badger culling, which the UK government once justified as a method to control the spread of bovine tuberculosis in cattle. However, May believed that the answer was not mass killing, but rather a humane approach that protected both wildlife and the farming industry. He actively lobbied against the culling policy, participated in political debates, and even proposed an alternative vaccination program for badgers to prevent unnecessary slaughter. May's activism goes far beyond speeches or online campaigns. He has taken to the streets, joined protests, stood outside the UK Parliament, and directly confronted politicians who supported hunting. He once declared, "I will not stop fighting until Britain puts an end to these inhumane hunts." Beyond politics, Brian May has turned his own land in Surrey into a wildlife rescue center, named Harper Asprey. Wildlife Rescue, this sanctuary has provided care and rehabilitation for hundreds of injured animals, from birds and hedgehogs to foxes, badgers, and owls. To him, this is not just charity, it is a true mission. May's dedication to animal welfare is so unwavering that he once refused to perform at Glastonbury Festival because its founder supported badger culling. For many artists, turning down such a prestigious stage would be unthinkable. But for Brian May, his beliefs and principles come above all else. Although the world will always remember him for his legendary guitar melodies, Brian May hopes to be remembered as someone who fought to change the way humans treat other living beings on this planet. He once said, "I know people will always associate me with Queen, but if I had a choice, I would want to be remembered as someone who tried to change how we treat animals. That is my true legacy." Brian May wants us all to pay attention to asteroids. While many rock stars spend their free time indulging in a life of luxury, Brian May is busy studying the universe and warning the world about the dangers of asteroids. It may sound like the plot of a sci-fi movie, but for May, this is a real and urgent threat that demands serious attention. In 2014, Brian May co-founded Asteroid Day, an annual event held on June 30th, dedicated to raising awareness about the risk of asteroids colliding with Earth. This date was chosen to commemorate the Tunguska explosion of 1908, when a meteor exploded over Siberia, flattening more than 2,000 square kilometers of forest, a blast equivalent to 185 Hiroshima atomic bombs. May believes that tracking and studying asteroids could help humanity prevent similar disasters in the future. He has collaborated with some of the world's top scientists to analyze the orbits of near-Earth asteroids and explore ways to mitigate collision risks. More than just an advocate, May has applied his astrophysics expertise to create 3D models that help visualize the structure and movement of asteroids. Beyond his scientific efforts, Brian May even has an asteroid named after him, 52,665. Brian May, a recognition of his contributions to space science. But even more fascinating is that Freddie Mercury has his own asteroid too, 17473, Freddie Mercury, named in 2016 to honor the legendary singer's 70th birthday. May doesn't just observe asteroids from afar, he actively studies them. In 2020, he co-authored a scientific paper published in Nature using 3D imaging technology to analyze the structure of asteroids Bennu and Ryugu. These studies help scientists better understand how small celestial bodies form and evolve, paving the way for potential strategies to prevent asteroid impacts on Earth. For May, the sky isn't just something to admire, it's a vast frontier that demands serious study. He wants people to appreciate the beauty of the cosmos, but also recognize the dangers it may pose. And if one day humanity succeeds in preventing a catastrophic asteroid collision, we might just owe our thanks to a legendary guitarist, one who has never stopped looking up at the stars with boundless passion. Brian May wrote the song Scandal about the British tabloids. Fame has never been easy. And for those at the pinnacle of success like Queen, the price of stardom included relentless media scrutiny. By the late 1980s, the British tabloids were constantly digging into, distorting, and fabricating stories about the band members' personal lives, from Freddie Mercury's relationships to Brian May's personal struggles. Unwilling to stand by and watch his private life exploited, May decided to fight back the way he knew best, through music. In 1989, he wrote Scandal, a powerful protest against the press, especially its profit-driven tactics of spreading rumors, regardless of the damage caused to people's lives. The song channels May's frustration and anguish, as he himself had become a media target during the breakdown of his first marriage. Tabloids relentlessly covered his relationship with actress Anita Dobson, turning it into a sensationalized scandal, despite the fact that May was going through a personal crisis and depression at the time. In the lyrics, May exposes how the press feeds off public curiosity, twisting facts and capitalizing on the pain of celebrities for commercial gain. They'll tell you anything you want to hear, they lie, they twist the truth, they twist the knife in you. It wasn't just about Brian May's personal battles. Scandal also reflected the immense pressure Freddie Mercury was under at the time. As rumors about Mercury's health began to circulate, the media ruthlessly invaded his private life, spinning scandalous stories without concern for the emotional toll on the legendary singer. Although Scandal didn't become a major commercial hit, it remains one of Queen's most raw and emotionally charged songs, capturing the fury and helplessness of artists turned into media fodder. Brian May didn't just write a song, he exposed the dark reality of the news industry, where human lives are reduced to headlines and personal suffering is sold as entertainment. Brian May has talked about his struggles with depression. Under the stage lights, Brian May is a legend, an exceptional guitarist, a brilliant songwriter, and a relentless contributor to the arts. But when the lights fade and the applause dies down, he is just like anyone else, someone who has, at times, felt completely broken. May has never hidden the fact that he struggled with severe depression, especially during the early 1990s. The year 1991 was one of immense loss for him. His father passed away, and shortly after he had to face the death of Freddie Mercury, his friend and bandmate of many years. When Queen was at the height of their fame, they were like a family. But when Mercury was gone, May felt as if a part of himself, a part of his soul, had died too. In an interview, he admitted, "I thought my life was over. I couldn't find meaning in anything anymore." After Mercury's death, Queen all but disbanded, and for a long time, May found himself trapped in a deep and overwhelming loneliness. Even music, the very thing that had once been his lifeline, no longer brought him joy. He described his depression as a thick fog, draining him of all motivation, making him want to do nothing. A sense of emptiness and despair consumed him, and at one point he even contemplated ending it all. But in those darkest days, two things saved him: love and music. The woman who pulled him back from the edge was Anita Dobson, who later became his wife. She not only stood by his side, but also encouraged and pushed him to rediscover himself. Thanks to her, Brian May slowly found his passion for music again, which led him to embark on his first solo projects. Though he overcame the worst of it, May admits that depression never truly disappears. It still returns at times, especially toward the end of the year when he feels overwhelmed by memories of loss and despair. In a January 2020 Instagram post, he shared, "There's something about this time of year that paralyzes me. A feeling of depression, hopelessness, fear. It crashes over me like a wave I cannot control." Unlike many public figures who hide their mental health struggles, Brian May chooses to be open, speaking candidly about his inner battles. He wants people to understand that depression is real, even for those who seem to have everything. Today, beyond music and science, May dedicates time to raising awareness about mental health, especially for those in the entertainment industry. He stands as proof that even legends can fall. But what matters is that we can rise again and keep moving forward. Brian May is not just Queen's legendary guitarist. He is a brilliant musician, a true scientist, a tireless advocate for animal rights, and a man who has confronted the deepest shadows of his own soul. From electrifying melodies on stage to ambitious astronomical discoveries and passionate wildlife conservation efforts, his life has been an extraordinary journey, one where passion and perseverance always prevail. Now in his 70s, while many of his peers have chosen to step away and retire, Brian May continues to create, explore, and contribute. He still plays music, still looks to the stars, still speaks up for the voiceless, and still lives with the same intensity as when he first stepped on stage. To him, the title of rock legend is only part of the story. What truly matters is the legacy he leaves behind, not just in music, but also in science and humanitarian values. What do you remember Brian May for the most? Is it the unforgettable melodies of his red special guitar, the image of a musician standing before tens of thousands of fans, or the dedicated scientist gazing into the cosmos? No matter the role, he remains a remarkable figure, a true legend.